We'll go ahead and get started. Well, welcome everyone to Launching Your Career series, tapping into the hidden job market, AI, and your job search. And joining me today is our awesome guest speaker, Logan Todd. A little bit more about Logan is that she is a Korean Alumni Services Manager at United States University. She is a certified career services provider, certified MBTI practitioner. She's a global career development facilitator and has an MBA from Binghamton University, specializing in business analytics, leadership, and consulting. She's been busy. She's also has spent the last 10 years using creative strategies to support and promote various business operations for different organizations. As I said, she currently works for Ann Arbor, Michigan for United States University in a remote role. And where she's also providing resources and support virtually to students and recent grads. And she's also the new co-chair for the National Career Development Association, or NCDA, AI's task force, where she is leading the charge to create materials, resources, and best practice for AI use in career development. And today she's going to share with us her knowledge and wisdom in terms of really what it means to tap into the hidden job market, leveraging AI, and tips to embark in your job search. So without further ado, again, thank you so much for joining us today, Logan, and to all the students here as well. I will let you have the floor, and it's all yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Esther. I'm so excited to see you all here. Thank you all for engaging in the chat. I always like to know who's attending because that makes it better for you all so that I can tailor this session even further to you. We have lots of graduating students attending today, which is amazing. Early congratulations. The job market is all over the place. And so I am very confident that you will get lots of really great information to help you feel more confident and successful as you pursue those post-grad opportunities. So we're going to jump right in. There is a lot to cover. So if at any time you have questions, you have comments, feel free to drop them in the chat. Use that raise hand feature. Whatever you feel comfortable with works for me. I just want to make sure that you have what you need and ask those clarifying questions. So Esther already gave a little bit of background about me, but I'm very excited to share all about AI, hidden job market, and some tips. So starting off, you can use the chat feature. What do you know about the hidden job market? Have you ever heard of the term hidden job market before today? Anything that anyone has ever told you? Anything that you've heard before? Not familiar. Okay. Well, you're in the right place. We're going to learn all about it today. Anybody else heard of hidden job market before or never heard of it? All right. Yeah, Jamie, we're going to go all in depth about that. Fake job postings. We can certainly talk about that as well. Right. Well, we have a little bit of a mix here, which is good. So we have some familiarity and some of you have never heard it before. I like to think of it like this, but I'll show another example too. So for you as job seekers, right, fresh out of college or soon to be, maybe you're finishing up your program. Where we start first with job searching is we always go to the job boards, right? LinkedIn, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, any of those job boards and advertisements we might see online. Then we might go to a recruitment agency or a recruiter, right? Or a headhunter. Someone contacts us on LinkedIn. Maybe we have involvement in professional organizations. A lot of them have internal job boards that you can access and you can check out roles. Or maybe you have connections at your institution now with any clubs or organizations you're a part of. The last three here are often the toughest and the hardest for graduates to go about. So networking, word of mouth. Networking in a post-COVID world is really scary. There's a lot of differences from pre-COVID. People are all over the place. A lot more people are working remotely, so those networking opportunities are a little bit harder to find. Not impossible, but just a little bit fewer and far between. Contacts from existing staff, not really top of mind when we're job searching. And then internal promotion, right? This would be if you already work at the company and you're trying to get a new job, or maybe you interned there and you want to go on full time. So on the flip side, employers would rather hire from the bottom up. So if they have someone in-house or they have an intern that work for them, they would so much rather hire them because they already know your work, they already know your education background, they have proven that you can do the job. So they would of course want to hire you. Then they might ask around or ask their employees. A lot of employers have referral bonuses where if they refer someone to the company, they get a bonus, right? Everybody wins. And so it's much easier for the employer to get insights or referrals from existing staff. Then they might do networking, right? So maybe outside of their existing employees, maybe they have partnerships with organizations in the community. They might post like papers in the community, or they might host a little job fair in the community, right? That would be something more local. The last three steps, which again is the first steps that job seekers typically take, are actually the most expensive for an employer to do. It costs a lot of money to hire recruitment agencies to post jobs online, especially if they're using LinkedIn and they want to really ramp up their search. They have to pay for a premium version of LinkedIn to get good candidates and to get the applicant tracking systems, candidate software to really give them what they're looking for. So it is costly. So they would rather do the bottom three things because it's free. Or very minimal cost at least. So you can also think about it like an iceberg. So in our session description today, we talked about 80% of the jobs are hidden, right? That is our hidden job market. So that bottom of the pyramid, or in this case, our iceberg, that is our recruiter personal connections, our referrals, our networking, our internal hires, or interns becoming full-time staff. Now, the portion that we always see are just the job postings online. That's where that 20 to 25% comes from. So you really want to tap into the bottom of the iceberg or the bottom of the pyramid when we're looking for positions. And that is the hidden job market. So your goal, make it easy and least expensive for the employer by hopefully getting a referral or a word of mouth inquiry or talking to someone at the company. And then you can control all of these steps. So even though it seems a little scary, you can do it. You can connect directly with employees, and we'll talk about a few ways you can do that in a bit. You can network, you can put yourself out there, you can join clubs, organizations. You have access at your institution now, but there's tons of professional organizations. There's LinkedIn groups that you can join, Facebook groups that you can join. Yes, people are still using Facebook. You can even use TikTok. You can look up people who are doing the work that you want to be doing, get ideas, maybe chat with them or set up a coffee chat. But you can also, like what you're already doing, I'm sure, is looking for those ads and openings online. Oh, some other places to access that hidden job market. We already talked all about your university. You have a really great network where you are now. You have folks who are willing to support you, especially in your career office. You have Esther there to support you. On-campus and virtual events like you're attending right now, career fairs, university alumni, and I'm going to show you how to find alumni on LinkedIn a little bit later. Your current workplace, your past workplace, or your future workplace are great places to think. Future workplace might be a little tough, but down the road, once you secure a position, you can always think about what's next. Internship sites are great because it's a temporary position, but maybe you hope to create a full-time role out of that. So network and chat, and then get some referrals, get some contacts. Maybe they know someone else who's hiring, right? Some different events. So of course we talked about virtual events, but lots of other webinars. There's LinkedIn Lives that are on LinkedIn all the time. You have conferences, community events, volunteer events. Volunteering is actually a really great way to meet new people because at the end of the day, everyone who volunteers is doing it because they want to be there. And so they're more likely to chat with you. Where if it's like an on-campus event or career fairs, it can be a little intimidating, where a volunteer event is very casual atmosphere. So if you're a little nervous about career fairs, maybe start smaller scale and then work your way up. Virtually, there's so many opportunities. I talked about LinkedIn Live, but any of the other social media channels, there's always TikTok Lives. You can do Instagram Lives. You can search hashtags, look for things that are relevant for you. Online forums like Reddit. I don't know if anyone uses Reddit anymore, but Reddit is actually a really great tool for looking for tips and expertise. Some other groups on Facebook, right? There's lots of places to look. It's just now you know where to find them. So I know there's a lot of text on this slide, and I really hate putting a lot of text, but I wanted to make sure you had this. I'll make sure you get a copy of the slides afterwards. But research and preparation is really important for the hidden job market. You kind of are creating your own little strategic job search plan. You really don't want to go into it without any type of plan at all, because you're not going to have as much success. If you really sit down and you think about, okay, who is my audience I'm trying to reach, right? I'm not applying to hundreds and hundreds of applications. We shouldn't be, at least, but we want to try to target a company or target a specific audience with our job search. Then we want to think about what's going on in the industry. What do I need to know about? Is there any emerging technology? I know we have a lot of media majors in here, so thinking about like AI is a good one. Of course, we're talking about that today, but there is AI being embedded in all sorts of different media and programs. And so is that an opportunity for you kind of tap into the market? So really thinking about industry trends is important. Preparing questions and preparing our materials. So resume, portfolio, LinkedIn profile, are these things up to date? Cover letters too. Having a list of questions ready to go so that when your time comes to network, to chat with people who are in the role or interviewing, you're ready to go and you have your answers. Or you have the questions to get you the answers that you're looking for. Your elevator pitch, that's your 30-second commercial, that is your way to sell yourself. You are going to use this for the rest of your life. So the best thing is when you meet someone new and they're always like, oh, what do you do? That's a perfect opportunity to use your elevator pitch. And so really practicing that now is a great tip for you. Researching companies, researching organizations, right? Knowing your audience. And then follow up with your connections. So you might already have people that you've worked with before at your past companies or your current internship sites, for example. So think about asking them, do you know anyone who's hiring? Do you have any options for me? What tips do you have? It can be very casual, come up in conversation. It doesn't have to be anything formal. And then reflect and iterate. So if you attend an event, if you connect with someone, you gain some new insights or information, you really should follow up, but then also reflect on that experience. So for example, if you did an internship, what did you like? What did you not like? How will these relate to your career? So I'll make sure you get a copy of the slides. I know I went through pretty quick, but just wanted to make sure we talked about those. So informational interviewing, you can use a little reaction button. So I'll do a demonstration with a little thumbs up. How many of you have heard of informational interviewing before or career conversations? We can put a thumbs up in the chat. Okay, well, I'm glad you're here. All right, a couple. Okay. All right, so informational interviewing is exactly what it sounds like. It is a very informal way of having a conversation with someone about what they do. And so informational interviewing sounds really scary. I just like calling them career conversations. You're having conversations, you're having chats about a career. So these they can look a lot of different ways. So you can do a phone call, you can do in person, you can invite someone to go get coffee or have lunch. But this is really a space for you to ask the questions. Ask what they do every day. Ask how they got into the role. Are there any certifications that you should know about? Or is there any trainings or really good resources for you to add to your toolkit as you're entering the workforce? A lot of people really love having these conversations because they love talking about themselves, right? But that is also a really great opportunity for you to get kind of the insider information from someone who's actually doing the job. So you can think about connecting with recruiters, current employers, friends of friends, family, even. But we want to make sure, even though it is informal and more casual, we still want to be professional. We still want to have good communication, dressing appropriately, and then expressing gratitude after. I really like putting this picture in here because it reminds me to tell a really funny story. I was doing an informational interview with a student. This is years ago, in the beginning of COVID, when we just started doing virtual. And the student, was doing really great, was dressed professionally, asking all the questions, and then their doorbell rang. And so they said, excuse me, I'm expecting a package today. So they got up to go get the package and then came back and realized that they weren't wearing pants. They had dressed professionally from the waist up, but did not dress professionally. So they were very embarrassed. And we sat down, we had a conversation about You're lucky it was me and not an employer or, an actual interview, right? So I always like to tell that story. It's really funny. And I got consent from the student to share it, but he has always learned now that he will dress professionally from head to toe. So here's where the AI comes in. Informational interviews of those career conversations can be a little scary if you've never done one before, but AI is here to help you make it easier. So I have just 2 prompts here. I'm going to give you an entire prompt guide, but I wanted to give you 2 that would relate to informational interviewing and career conversation. So if you wanted to initiate and ask someone to have a career conversation, you could use AI to help you write that email by giving it just a little bit of information. So you're asking it to generate an email template for you to send to so-and-so at XYZ company, introducing yourself, expressing interest in the field or the role at the company, and requesting an informational interview. It'll spit out a beautiful template for you. And then you can say, okay, great. Draft me a list of 5 to 8 questions that would be ideal for this informational interview. And then you can take that and you're ready to go. You did your preparation for that career conversation. So make it easy for yourself. It's also just really good practice, and the AI will help you understand how to formulate that professional email. We all need help with writing emails. I actually just received an email yesterday of someone putting their entire message in the subject line. So use AI to understand how to create a professional email, and then that way you have it as good practice for the future. You're going to be sending emails no matter what industry you're in, so it's always good to know. LinkedIn is my favorite way to access the hidden job market. There really is so many amazing resources and so many amazing people on LinkedIn that you have never heard of that will help you. So follow companies and organizations that you're interested in, join those professional groups. You can just search for this right on LinkedIn. Connect with alumni. I know Esther put the link to the CSUN alumni on there. Definitely take advantage of that. But also search for people like you. Search for people who are doing your dream job or working in the industry that you're doing. Click on their profile. You don't have to send a message. You don't have to talk to them if you don't want to, but just get an idea of the steps that they took or the different education phases, different certifications, different classes, different companies that they follow. That way you can get an idea of the people that are doing your work, how they got there. LinkedIn is also a really great place to develop your personal brand. So the more you post, the more you interact, the more you engage with other people, the more you fill out your profile, the better your personal brand is. Employers are Google searching you. So they are looking up your information online to figure out who you are as a candidate, but also as a well-rounded human. They want to make sure that we're not posting anything inappropriately online. We have our best representation visible. If you were to Google search me like 15-ish years ago, you would have seen my MySpace profile. I know I'm probably saying how old I am with that, but you would see my MySpace profile, and it was a little preteen picture of me with probably Justin Bieber playing on the profile. And so I would not want an employer to see that, right? And so what I did was I really worked on building my LinkedIn profile, setting my other social media platforms to private, so that if employers did search for me, they would not find those things, and it would direct them right to LinkedIn where I want them to go. So just a tip, Google yourself, see what comes up, and are you happy with that if an employer were to see it? Is that CSUN alumni page. So when you're on LinkedIn, you can go to that link Esther sent, and it should open it right up. But if not, if you're searching for California State University Northridge on there, you can click that little alumni button, and this is where it will populate that alumni section. You have access to over 200,000 alumni on here. Some you might already be connected with in your network. Some might be your friends that you can connect with, but also you have a lot of people that you can use as a resource. You can use all of these filters. So you can choose where they work, where they live, what they do, what they studied. There's tons of different things that you can add in here to really help you narrow down your options. And from there, you can connect with them. So when we're sending, when we're sending connection requests on LinkedIn, we want to send a personalized note. I do have a little stat here for you. So people on LinkedIn are 74% more likely to connect with you if you send that personalized note. I like to say If someone came up to you on the street and asked you for a piece of gum, you'd be like, get lost, right? I don't know you. But if someone actually came up to you and told you the story, like, I'm running late for an interview, do you have a piece of gum? They personalize that a little bit more. You're more likely to give them a piece of gum, just like they're more likely to connect with you on LinkedIn. And so I just had a quick sample here. So hello, as a passionate student, I'm eager to connect with you, looking forward to connecting, staying in touch. It doesn't have to be anything super crazy here. It can be very simple, especially if you're connecting with fellow alum or other graduates or other students. You have a connection, you have CSUN that you can use as your connection and kind of jumping board here to go forward with that message. But we can use AI to do this as well. So you can ask it to generate a personalized LinkedIn message for an individual at X company, or in this case, an alumni at your institution who is in a role, and then include the role. Then it will create that message for you. You can copy it. You probably will need to edit it a little bit because it's not 100% perfect, but it is enough to get going and to use that note. LinkedIn has made some changes recently, so I believe you can only send 5 to 10 messages over a certain period of time. So just know that if it gives you that kickback, that's why. You'll just have to wait a little bit, or see if you can find their email, send them an email instead.
Logan, I also wanted to add the difference between following and connecting with contacts on LinkedIn. The main goal is to connect, exactly what you just said. Following is just, I'm just following your page. There's no engagement between, myself and you. So that's the main difference. Be easier to click follow because it's just following. But, when you mention the opportunity to craft a personalized message to connect with you, it's a different approach.
Yes, that is a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. And just like any other platforms where you follow someone, that's so that you stay in the know. We stay updated. We understand what's going on in their lives with their posts, where that connection is like just a little bit step further. You want to be in their network so that they see your posts as well, where if you follow them, they're not going to see your information. So I'm glad you brought that up.
And we have a question in the chat.
Yes, Rachel, thank you so much. So Rachel asked if it is safe to connect with all the people who message you when they're hiring at their company and offering you a job. Great question. I think trust your gut, right? If it's a weird sounding message, or if you're not really sure if they're being truthful, we probably want to stay safe and not accept them. However, there are a lot of recruiters that use LinkedIn Recruiter. It's that enhanced pro version of LinkedIn that they pay for that will send you personalized connection requests and messages in your inbox. Those are, for the most part, legitimate requests. Just do your due diligence, go to the company's page and see if they're actually hiring for that role. In terms of everybody who messages you, I think it comes down to a personal preference. I mean, there's a lot of people who will just connect with everybody, and I don't think that that's the most intentional way to go about networking and accessing the hidden job market. This is more of a quality over quantity type of environment. So the more connections you have, great, but do you really know all of them? Can you lean on them to help you? Where if you take the time and really understand your network, know your audience, and understand how they can help you, then it's a little bit better of a connection. You're actually building solid relationships that you can lean on. So that is my 2 cents there. I'm not sure, Esther, if you have anything you want to add for that.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really using your judgment call. Remember that any platform, whether it be LinkedIn, Indeed, any job board out there, you want to be confident that the contact that's approaching you is someone that's legit. I think you always have to keep that in mind. And I know in the chat, a question from Alicia is if it's the same thing with Handshake. So the employers on Handshake are vetted in terms of them being able to post with whichever university they opt to. So is there ever an opportunity where something can, or an employer can leak to the process? The probability of error is obviously there. But again, as you're being approached by employers, it is your due diligence to one, do some research. As Logan said earlier, well, who's this company? How long have they been in business? Is this person on LinkedIn? So there's a lot of back end work that you can do. It's not just replying to a request. I would say that don't ignore a request. And it's also about clarifying what particular opportunity the person is, approaching you for. So you got to do some due diligence on the back end as well, so that you're engaging with an employer that has true, legit intentions to engage with you.
Yes, that is exactly what I was going to say as well. So I think, it is up to you if you want to respond to every single person that messages you. I think there is a benefit to doing that. Like Esther was saying, I mean, you can always respond and say, this opportunity isn't really a good fit for me. I'm more so, interested in XYZ roles. Do you have any of those available? And then continue that conversation. But again, up to you. I know Jamie put in there about scam jobs in your inbox. That's where that due diligence comes in. It is up to you to do that research and just make sure that this is a legitimate source. But as Esther said, anything on Handshake, those are vetted employers, so you're good to go in the green, in the clear on those for sure. Great conversation though, I love it. All right, so tons and tons of ways to use AI for career development. I know we've already talked about a couple things, but resume writing, cover letter writing, career exploration, searching for occupation. So you might already have something in mind, but if not, you can do a little bit more of exploration and searching there. We talked about how we can get it to write emails for us, researching interview questions, and also interview answer prep. So yes, it's great for pulling questions, but actually helping you formulate solid responses to it is also very helpful. LinkedIn profile building, we can identify key skills from a job description to help us tailor our documents further. The one thing I say for resume and cover letter writing is we should not be asking it to write it for us. We should already have a document. I'm sure Esther can provide you with samples in the Career Services office, but we should not be going into AI and say, hey, write a resume for me for my job hunt. We should not be doing that. It's going to be pulling information from outer space into this document that's not factual. Also unethical because it's not our own writing, right? Just like we wouldn't use AI to write an essay for us, we're not going to do that for resume and cover letter writing. Email writing is a little bit different just because emails are pretty standardized in terms of what we would say, but it is good to help you sound more professional or to change your tone if you are trying to say something, but make it sound more professional. That's where AI can help you a little bit there. But in terms of resume and cover letter writing, we don't want to be asking it to write it for us. We should, however, use our existing document, and maybe we can ask AI to help us tailor our bullet points a little bit, or say, I'm really trying to apply for this position. I want to tailor my current resume to this role. Then we can use AI to help us there, but we should not, under any circumstances, be asking it to write it for us. So we're going to jump right into using AI. I will give you a second there to scan that QR code. I'm also going to put the link to my resource in the chat. So I'll give you a second there while I answer this question. So Trish asked, what AI engines do you like best for resume writing? You're going to laugh at my response, but I'm going to say the number one is your brain. Your own brain is the best way to write your resume. The second thing, any of the generative AI platforms, so ChatGPT, Claude, Copilot, anything under that umbrella is great to use. They all offer free versions. You can do everything I'm going to show you today with the free options. And then there are some other tools. So I'll put a couple in here. So Teal HQ, that is one that I really like because they have a bunch of different AI tools that you can use. It is what I call freemium. So meaning you get so many for free before you have to purchase the premium option. My move around for that, way to get around that, is to just use another email. So I'm sure you have two emails. You have your school email and you have a personal email. So right there, you get however many free attempts. So, okay, I am going to send the link in the chat because I want to make sure everybody has access to my awesome prompt guide. I see a bunch of people in there, which is good. So I'm going to pop this link in here. So I would recommend bookmarking this. You can use that little star feature at the top of your browser, or in Google, you can click this star, and then that way it'll show up in your starred options. I update this all the time with new prompts and new resources, so it's great to just kind of keep in the background in case you need it. Now, of course, given our time today, we can't go through all the things, but I'm going to show you some of the really cool things that you can do. So this is going to involve a little bit of participation from you all in the chat because I really want to tailor this to you and to help you even further. So I am going to use this prompt here, and I'm going to go over to Claude and paste it in, but I'm going to tailor it to you all. So I would like you, whoever is first, to give me a field that you're interested in. So not a career, but like an industry. So think tech or think digital media. Okay, we got fashion. I love that. Okay. Leslie, what is your major? So Leslie, if you want to put your major in the chat, I'll use your example. Fashion merchandising. Love it. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to say what would be good career options for someone who's interested in fashion, but is currently working toward a fashion merchandising degree. So I encourage you all, as I'm going through this, open up your window on your computer and you can do it with me. But we're going to use Leslie's example for this one here. So put my prompt in there. Sometimes it takes a little bit, just depending on how many humans are using AI, but here we go. So it's saying fashion merchandising opens up many career paths. Here are some great options. And the cool thing is that it gives you direct applications. So based on your degree, these are the things that are more likely to go into. But here's some other options. Here's some corporate options. If you want to own your own business, here's some options as well. And then the cool thing is that it keeps the conversation going with you. So it's going to ask you some more questions, like, is there a specific area within fashion that interests you, right? Fashion is a really big umbrella. There's so many things within that, right? Textiles, there is merchandising, there is, retail operations, supply chain, right? So there's tons of nuanced items within that umbrella. So you can continue that conversation and further your exploration to help you pinpoint what's going to be a good fit. So is there a particular area of fashion merchandising or fashion that you're interested in, Leslie?
You can also unmute yourself too, Leslie.
All right, Leslie says buying. All right. Focusing on buying is a great choice. And then it tells you, hey, these are the skills that you're combining together for these roles. And then here's your jobs that you can use. Now you have a list of different occupations. You can take this, you can go to your job boards and you can search right there. Then it's saying, hey, double check your resume. Here's some skills you want to develop. So understanding consumer behavior, data analysis, inventory management, financial planning. You would hope that your program has prepared you for these, but double check that they're also on your resume or you have something in there related to these skills. Because if you were to Google search or look up one of the jobs on Indeed or LinkedIn and look at that job description, I guarantee you some of these skills are going to be listed there. And then it says, okay, great, here's how you can get into this industry or this role. So look for assistant buyer positions or internships as entry points. Consider starting in retail and then branching out from there, building relationships. So it is really great for helping you kind of create that strategic plan for accessing that hidden job market. The cool thing too is that sometimes it just depends on the prompt that you give it, but it did give some educational enhancements. So you could consider taking courses in business analytics or retail math. You can join this organization for student resources, pursue Excel certification. So it's really helping prepare you to kind of give you a clear insight of what do I need to do? Where do I need to go? What types of jobs are available for me? So I think AI is really fantastic in this aspect. So thanks for participating, Leslie. I appreciate it. All right, so that is our example of career exploration. Let's chat about interest, values, skill identification. So I would love a job title. Anybody have a job title for me?
Data analyst.
Yeah, All right. So I always like to make a point when you're in your generative AI, you always try to want to do a new chat window because sometimes it will use the information from your previous window and the results will get kind of funky. So let's copy this prompt here. And we're going to do data analyst. So I'm asking what types of skills are important for someone interested in becoming a data analyst. So here we go. Data analyst is also very big, right? There's lots of different spaces that we can do data analysis in. So you know what my next question is, Amari. Okay, so here's the skills that they would look for or an employer would look for in a successful data analyst candidate. And I like that they actually broke it down into technical and then analytical skills and business skills. So we have 3 different areas here. What does this mean? This means we want to double check our resume, double check our cover letter, make sure we have these skills listed there. If not, we know we need to add them in. So, Amari, my next question for you is, what type of data analyst? Do you know what types of data you want to look at? Do you want to look at consumer data? Do you want to look at more technical based data?
I'd say more technical based.
Okay. So I'm going to take the second prompt here and follow up on my conversation. So based on those skills above, provide me a list of ways I can enhance these skills for technical based data analyst roles. So I have my skills. Now I want to know how I can enhance these. So it is directing me to a couple places where I can take some courses. I can practice with real data sets. One thing, especially with data roles in tech mostly, is that they're always going to have you do some type of assessment in the interview process. So they're going to have you look at data. They're going to have you analyze it in some form or fashion, depending on what they give you as a prompt. But it is really good to practice these ahead of time. HackerRank, for example, is one of those systems that they often use in the interviewing process. So it is good to practice in using these platforms so that when the interview comes, you're not surprised and you have experience using them. It's asking you to brush up on your Excel skills, practice with your advanced functions. This is something I really need to do. I use Excel almost every single day, and VLOOKUP and XLOOKUP are things that I know I've done it thousands of times, but I wish I had a little bit more practice. So even though I don't work in data, I still use Excel. So I think it's a good skill for everybody. But this way, we have an action plan, right? We go back to our strategic plan. We have ideas for moving forward. And then we can use AI even further. And we can say, are there any ones for this particular company or this role at this company that you recommend? So I'm going to stick with this example and I'm going to go to Indeed. And I'm going to just look up a data analyst position. Here, list. And we'll just stick with remote. It's going to make sure I'm not a robot. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to let's use this data integration analyst role. So what I can do is copy this job description. It's a very long job description. That's all right. Okay, I'm going to copy this and go back over to Claude. Same conversation. And I'm going to say, I'm interested in this position below. What are the key skills the employer is looking for? And what should I emphasize or highlight in my resume and cover letter? And then I can paste that job description. You can see it pasted it right down here. So we already have a good idea when we asked earlier, but now we're actually taking a real life job application and saying, okay, what do I need to really highlight in this position into my resume so that we get through to a real person, we get through to an employer, we get through to the interview. If you've never heard of an ATS system or applicant tracking system, that is basically a robot that parses or scans your resume when you upload it to an online system. It's going to give you some type of score or ranking based on the other candidates. Your job is not to get 100 or an A++, because that means we copied and pasted the job description, which is unethical. But what we can do is use AI to pull out those keywords and those qualifications that the employer is really looking for. And then we can go back to our resume and our cover letter and make sure that the information is in there in some form or fashion. That will get you a high score in the end. Okay. So it took that job description and it says, all right, based on this, here are the key skills the employer is looking for and what you should emphasize in your application. So you want to make sure you have at least somewhere in there, it doesn't have to say word for word, 2+ years working in relational databases, but we should have at least SQL in there, database structures, maybe some of these keywords here with Excel, project management, documentation skills, communication skills. Now this is great too, because these are very transferable. If you don't have any experience as a data analyst or in data, I guarantee you from your class projects, from your internships, even if you're working at McDonald's, my first job was working at McDonald's, I had lots of documentation skills, right? Creating schedules for fellow employees, communication skills were every single day, communicating with customers, problem solving, especially in a dinner rush, right? We have to figure out, okay, do I need to prioritize the fries right now? Do I need to drop the chicken nuggets? Do we need to refill the ice cream machine that's always down? So problem solving is something that's very transferable. So this is great for helping you identify those key skills where you can fit them in outside of those data related roles. I want to go to a chat here. Is there a particular reason you use Claude rather than ChatGPT? Good question. No, there's not. The only reason why is because ChatGPT tends to have a smaller limit on how many questions or how many prompts I can give it for free. So I like to balance sessions between both. You'll see after you use it for a while, it'll say you've reached the daily limit. That's where it's going to say you need to pay $20 a month to get unlimited access. And so you don't need to do this. You can use any of them. They're all really great. I promise you. I actually use ChatGPT primarily. You can see this is my chat history. I use it all the time, but I use the free version. So I wanted to show you both. If you were to put both prompts into ChatGPT and Claude, the responses are going to be pretty similar. There might be a little bit of difference just because the models are different. They're based on different models and algorithms. So little bit different there, but that is how we can show skills, identify key words and qualifications in a job description, and then we can go back to our resume. Good questions. Okay. Are we supposed to provide race, gender, social security number? No. In an online application. Question, because it really depends on the position. I would say any racial information, gender identity, sexual preferences, we should not be including, or there's always that button where it says, I prefer not to answer. You are welcome to choose that option. The reason why sometimes they ask those questions is for like reporting to government agencies reasons. So sometimes they'll ask companies to report out on their percentage of employees for the census reasons, but you are always welcome to opt out of including those items. Your driver's license number, for example, if you're applying to be a bus driver, they need your license number, right? Or if you're applying for a nursing position, they're going to need to verify you have a valid license. So I think it really depends on the position for that. But Esther, do you have any further information you want to add there?
I think it's depending what the job is that you pretty much would supply what the employer is asking for you. So in other words, don't volunteer information unless the employer is asking you for it as well. And I wanted to address a question that was asked earlier about what email should I use? My CSUN email, my personal email. I'm a proponent of while you're a student, use your university, email. But as you're transitioning, into the workforce, as you're graduating, then obviously choose an email that's appropriate and that you're constantly checking, because the moment you are submitting your resume to XYZ employer, you are pretty much saying, call me, email me, I'm ready to engage with you. So make sure that you are using an email that you're actively utilizing.
Yes, good question. Okay. Amari, to answer your question about joining the All Tech is Human, yes, definitely join any of those communities, especially if it's something you're interested in. They're always posting about job opportunities, online webinars, and things. So that's a great question. Rachel, in terms of your question, you certainly opt out. There should be always that question based on the equal opportunity employment policy with just federal agencies and employers. You should have the option to opt out of those questions. If you don't, then it's probably not a place that you want to work, right? So really ask yourself that when you're looking at those. You're absolutely right. We don't want them to discriminate against you. Employers are human and they have bias, just like all humans. And so we want to take as much bias out of that hiring decision as possible. So that's why we always say, don't put photos on your resume, right? We don't want them to see who you are. Of course, they might see your LinkedIn profile, but at least that's a professional representation of you, right? Any social security number, date of birth, any of that information we shouldn't include on our resume. In some of the hiring processes, they might ask for some of that information, but it should not be used as discriminatory information. So I'm back what I say, if they're asking you that and you feel uncomfy about it, maybe ask yourself if that's really a place you want to be. Good questions, good questions. So I know we have about 10 minutes left, so I want to get through everything here. So I do have a section in here on hidden job market, prompts, job searching. So I'm going to use this first one. So my next question is, I need an industry and a job title, a new one, different than what we've already done. And I'm going to use ChatGPT this time. So industry and a job title, what do we got?
Maybe animation.
Yeah. And what is our job title?
Either let's say character designer.
Love it. Okay. So suggest companies in animation, let's do it, in the animation industry that may be hiring for roles like a character designer, but may not be actively advertising them. So this is that hidden iceberg, right? Or the bottom of the pyramid, if we remember our photos from earlier. So the cool thing about ChatGPT is that it's always learning from you. And so sometimes you might get something like this where it'll ask you, which response do you like better? This is because it's constantly learning. It is a learning model, and it also is algorithms. But just like TikTok, where you keep getting the videos that are more geared to you, ChatGPT is going to do the same thing. So we can kind of take a look at both of these. They're going to be very similar, but it's saying, there are several companies to look for. However, a lot of things rely on referrals or internal databases for job postings. So here's our list of companies, and you can see they're a little bit different, right? So these are major studios that often use talent pools and referrals. And then here are just general animation studios. So we're actually getting some solid information with both of these. So some of these I've never even heard of. These ones are a little bit more well-known, but these ones might be the smaller scale that we can start with. So we could kind of go from here and scroll down. Here's more gaming companies that look for character designers. International studios, so if you want to go outside of the US. Children's media, right? So it actually breaks down based on the type of media that we would be creating characters for. And then here's some pro tips. So ChatGPT is always good about doing some bonus tips in there. So here's how you can write a cold email, LinkedIn stalking. I like that they called it LinkedIn stalking. That's great. Recruiter contacting, portfolio days. So yes, this is something, especially in the animation media gamification world, they have these portfolio review days, or they'll host these events where they're looking for candidates to come in and showcase what they have to offer. So it's very different than a traditional type of job fair, career fair, because you're usually online and you're dropping a link to your portfolio. Where in a job fair, you go in and you shake hands, right? You give your resume, a little bit different in this way. So that is a great tip from ChatGPT.
I wanted to make a plug into this because I can connect it right away to the Ask a Matador. So because it's very specific, the conversation that we're having with the system, right? So now you can actually leverage, Ask a Matador, or you put in the question, I'm looking for, an alumni that is in a junior role at XYZ company within this specific role. And what the Alumni Association does is that they go into the database that they have and they look for that individual and then they connect you. So they are pretty much doing the work for you. They'll give you the contact information of the alumni. And then it's in your court to continue the conversation once that alumni starts to engage with you. So that's another great reason why Ask a Mentor will be a valuable resource for students to embrace and start using.
Yes, I love that. I'm just responding to Jamie's question in the chat about your racial identities and why they ask those in applications. I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, but just to kind of go over it again. So organizations are required to ask those questions because they need to report it to the government for the census and the occupational databases. So our government has an occupational outlook handbook where they list all the companies. They have a page where you can see the breakdown of employees that work there. So this is great information. Of course, right now, given the current landscape and lots of things going on with diversity, equity, inclusion, this is something that might change over time. So just know they might stop asking those questions eventually, but that is why they ask them now. So thank you so much for participating in that one. As you can see, ChatGPT gave us a couple different responses and we would choose the one that makes sense. But this is a great job of saying, here are your employers and here's where to start and here's how to go about it. And so that's what we want. It's giving us our strategic plan for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a couple other ones in there. We talked about creating personalized LinkedIn connection request messages, cold emails. There's also different prompts in here on how you can update your own LinkedIn profile. So if you're not on LinkedIn, you absolutely should be on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's great, especially if you're graduating soon. It's a great place to network and look. We looked at how we can find alumni on there as people who are potentially good connections for us. And then we can ask it to help us write some different sections on our LinkedIn based on what we already have in our resume or by giving it some details. Interviewing is amazing. I don't have time today to show you, but I really encourage you to use these prompts and check it out for yourself. You can even do live interviewing practice, and I have an example of what that looks like in here. Personal branding prompts, and then I have some other, I know someone asked about my recommended tools for resumes and cover letters. I have a bunch of them linked with down here. So definitely check these out. Remember to bookmark this. You can click that little star. You can start it to your own bookmark browser page. And then my contact information is at the bottom, but I want to make sure we talk about the important things, which is staying safe and ethical use of AI. So that first thing I have on there is your privacy settings. So when we're in ChatGPT, you'll have to go under your little icon there. And then your data controls is where you can change these things. So we don't want to improve the model for everyone. What that means, they make it sound so friendly, right? We all want to help, but what that means is you're giving away your personal data to help improve the AI system. They have so much data, they don't need more. So I recommend turning that off to protect yourself. And then the other item too is check your security settings and your, oh, you know what, they actually moved it. It is under right here. So it's called temporary. This is kind of like your incognito browser on Google. So it doesn't store any cookies, it doesn't track your data. You can always turn on that temporary chat window. And as you can see here, they keep a copy for 30 days. And then after that, they get rid of it. So you can reference it for 30 days on your sidebar here. So always check your settings. It's the same thing with Claude or any of the others just under your settings. So double check those. No personal or identifiable information. Do not add anything personal. So no names, no email, no phone numbers, no contact information, nothing. This is very important because we often get in a rush when we like try to copy our resume or copy, our cover letter, or copy things and put them into AI. Do not do this. You are basically giving away your personal information. So we don't want to just put our social security number online, right? It's the same thing with AI. We want to be mindful. We don't want to put in personal information. Understanding your university's AI policies is really important. So double check your catalog, your policy guide. I'm sure you have some type of AI policies, especially when it comes to plagiarism and copywriting. You really should be sticking to this no matter what you're using it for. And understand those consequences, right? If we're using it to write a resume for us, we submit that resume to an employer, we get the interview, and they ask us a bunch of questions that we are not prepared for because we lied on our application. We're not going to do well, right? It might help you get the interview or might help you get the job. When it comes time to actually doing the job, you might not be a good candidate because you have no idea what you're doing. Something that AI likes to do a lot is what's called a hallucination. It will pull information out of outer space. You have no idea where it comes from. You have no idea where it came, like why they process this information. But if we're asking it to, let's say, write a bullet point for us for our resume, or write an email for us, use your critical thinking skills. We all still have brains here. Read it and ask yourself, does this make sense? Would I talk like this? Would I say this? Would another human say this? It is really important we use those critical thinking skills. They're still there. They're still very important. It's one of the skills employers really want most from any candidate in any industry is critical thinking. So taking a second to reread it before you send it is really important, or reread it before you use it. And lastly is my prompt writing point here. So really strong prompts get us really strong responses. You saw from my examples today, they're not very long, you know, maybe a couple sentences max, but we got good results. So if we do good prompts, we get good results. So that's it from me today. Hopefully this was jam-packed with lots of fun information that you can now use to help you tackle that hidden job market, especially for my graduating students. You have lots to offer, and AI can really help you enhance that when it comes to breaking into that job market. So you're welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. I share AI stuff all the time. And so I'm happy to chat with you, happy to connect. But of course, you have Esther over there at your Career Services Center, and she's a great resource for you. So I'll stick around for a few minutes. I know we're at time, but thank you all for joining, and I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day, and good luck to those that are graduating soon.
Thank you so much, Logan, for your time and all the insights you've given us and your knowledge of how to tap into the hidden job market and leveraging AI as a tool. This is very informative and very hands-on, and I thank you for that. So, yeah, are there any other questions from the students?
I'm gonna put those two links in here.
Where can we find this recording?
So we will upload the recording within the next couple of days, and it'll be on our Career Center YouTube.
So will you send a link to us, or we just have to go on the YouTube channel?
On the YouTube channel, yes.
What is it called again?
Career Center YouTube channel. So I'll put it in the chat right now. And that's where you can also see the prior workshops that were held by the Career Center this semester. So put it in the chat really quick.
I'll also make sure to send a follow-up with the prompt guide and a copy of the slides so that you all have those as well. I do want to address Rachel's comment in here, so about people knowing whether or not you wrote something using AI. Something I forgot to mention is that employers are now catching on. We're in this strange time of mass application. So if you were to go on LinkedIn and you were to look at a job, it will say over 100 applicants for every single job, it seems like. That's because everybody is mass applying for these positions, and it is impossible for employers to review all of these candidates. So yes, candidates are using AI to help them tailor their documents, but now employers are catching on. They're now investing in software that will omit and remove any applications that have a source of AI that like wrote the job application for them. It is very, very easy to tell if AI wrote something. Especially now that they've seen so many applications, it's very easy to identify. It's also, for me, I've had people send their resumes over for me to review. It's very easy. There's a specific way that AI writes that's very different from a human. Great for brainstorming, not for writing. So that is my 2 cents there.
And I would also keep in mind that the resume is the first step, but the interview is really what is also going to present you as a human. And so, whether you do, if you are engaging in the interview process that's online through some Zoom feature, I highly suggest that you pretty much speak for yourself. There are softwares out there now that are really, tapping into if your response is AI generated, like if you're straight up reading the prompt that it's giving you, or if this is coming from you. So again, use AI as your friend, not as the person not as the tool that's replacing you. At the end of the day, they're looking to hire you as an individual, not an AI, system that's being created. And so keep an eye out for that as well. So,
Exactly.
Well, thank you again, everyone, for joining us today. It's been awesome. I thank you again, Logan, for sharing that document with us. And I know the students will make great use of it, and we'll definitely be in touch. And I look forward to, working with you again.
Thanks so much, Esther. Take care, everybody, and good luck to those graduating. Chat
Yes,
soon.
indeed. Congratulations. Have a great afternoon, everybody.